Let's roll with some slow jams by Toni Tone at number 24, up 9 from 33, Anniversary. Back in 1987, winter of 87 and 88, something very significant happened in my life. We got MTV at the house. I lived in a rural area that was south of Tuscaloosa, so we didn't get MTV when it first came out, but when we finally got MTV, I really got into it. Early 1988, but it wasn't just MTV. I discovered video soul and video vibrations on BET, and one of the first videos I remember from that era that I watched on BET around the spring of '88, Little Walter by Toni Tone. That was one badass record. Didn't cross over on the pop charts that well, but was a monster hit on R&B. Played heavy rotation, I think, on Video Vibrations. Can't remember the guy who was the announcer on Video Vibrations. Had a real low voice, kind of like Barry White. Doing it like Barry White. So here we are, 5 years later in 1993. Toni Tone, Sons of Soul. And they had some of that old school soul in their DNA, in their musical DNA matrix. First hit off of that album, Sons of Soul, was If I Had No Loot. Great hip hop beat, got that soul singing though, those soul harmonies coming into play, kind of reminiscing a little bit of Motown, Stax, those great R&B records in the '60s. And now we got Anniversary, which was written by two of the group members, Raphael Wiggins and Carl Wheeler. Carl Wheeler, the keyboard player of Toni Tone. Song did well, went to number 10 on went to number 10 on Billboard's Hot 100 Anniversary, number 2 on R&B. The rock critics loved this record. Some compared this record to the Motown days of Four Top Supremes, the Temptations, and it's got that slow jam feel to it. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Keith Sweat too from back in the day. Remember Keith Sweat? Music critic, a music journalist named Robert Christgau, is Christgau. He was an senior editor for Village Voice. He dubbed this record, Anniversary, the 13th best record of 1993. That is no small beans coming from a music journalist, a distinguished music journalist. That's some high praise right there, believe me. They did try to capture some old school soul in this record. They tried to capture the essence of Isaac Hayes' version By the Time I Get to Phoenix, which came out in 1969. The album version of that song by Isaac Hayes was almost 19 minutes long. It was over 18 minutes long, capturing that soul, that album Hot Buttered Soul by Isaac Hayes, covering the Jimmy Webb song written by Jimmy Webb, but originally covered by Johnny Rivers and then Glenn Campbell and then Isaac Hayes covered By the Time I Get to Phoenix. Toni Tone trying to capture a little bit of that vibe from that record. Arranged by a guy named his name was Douglas Clare Fisher. He's worked with a lot of people in his long career, starting out with Dizzy Gillespie, and did some orchestral arrangements for Prince in the early '80s. And some of his orchestral arrangements showed up in some of Prince's records, including his movie. You might remember the movie he did back in 1986 called Under the Cherry Moon. Well, major talent. Zooming in on this record is at number 24 on my fantasy playlist. Taking a big jump, almost 9 notches up from 33 the previous week. Anniversary, fantasy playlist, October 17th, 1993.